Hey, gang, my name is Carl White. I'm your host here for the next little bit while you listen to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers, as measured by downloads and reviews. So we thank you so much for all the reviews. That's really helped us out on the search engines and pushing the message out. And we really appreciate you guys doing that. I know it takes a little bit of effort to forward this to your friends, but it's my job to make sure that they thank you for it because it's great content. And we're following that in line today. If you're listening to the right episode, if you want to hear about building a team and how do you find that high level talent, and I've got a longtime friend of mine, Sid, from WizeHire, which you probably a lot of you have heard of, but you're going to hear more about it today. And Sid, you're out there in Houston, Texas. So how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Carl. Great to reconnect. I'm always excited to catch up.
Yes, it's a great thing. So, hey, bring everybody up to speed just for a brief minute, in case somebody's a little bit new to our world and has not heard of WizeHire. We've been a huge ambassador for WizeHire for quite some time. Give us a little bit of like, who is WizeHire and why are you on this podcast? Hey, like what service do you guys provide to help the loan officers?
I love it. Thanks for the opportunity again, Carl. If you're new to WizeHire, haven't heard about us, our job is to make your life easier as a loan officer. You got into this business to support people, get mortgages, get that opportunity of home ownership. But when you think about your business as you're building a team and scaling it, there's so much busy work that comes with it. Talent is ultimately the lifeblood of your company, and we get to support you with that, helping you think about who to hire, how to attract top talent, how to interview and assess them the same way that the big internet brokers do, and help you ultimately win talent at a faster pace. And, Carl, much like you, we love this community. We're going through a lot of ups and downs, and I think that's how we get together as a team. And, from what we're seeing, what you're seeing, I think there's a lot of optimism in the weeks and months ahead, which is why I love hopping on calls like this.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about like what do we see in the future and some trends that you're seeing. Before we do that, just again, I want to go a little deeper in exactly what WizeHire is. And by the way, so I've been a paying customer, I don't know, for a handful of years.
Yeah, 4 years probably.
Yeah, something like that. So pretty good while. And to my knowledge, I pay the same rate as everybody else does, right? I mean, that's the way
a fair and equal marketplace here, Carl. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just the way I like. I have people on the podcast not because they're writing me a check, but because it tends to be people that the services that I'm using, right? And that's what this is I was a customer first and became a fan, and then we share what you guys do because it's helped us so much. So I'm going to give the basic that I know it, and there's no doubt I'm like the tip of the iceberg. So you don't have to talk about the other 90%.
Love it.
But like, one of my favorite questions when I go around the country is to ask people, what's the number one thing that makes you most your money? And I always love hearing that answer. And most people don't know what it is. Like if I say, hey, what's the number one thing that makes you most your money? Instead of blurbing it out, they say, let me think about that. And so I always find that interesting that we don't have a super clear picture of the number one thing that makes us most of our money. Anyway, the purpose of that long ramble right there is, Sid, ask me the number one thing that makes me most of my money.
Oh, it's got to be your team. What's the number one thing that helps you make money, Carl? Let me be clear.
Talent acquisition. Talent acquisition. That is the number one thing that makes me most of my money, is talent acquisition and getting great talent, right? Because yeah, that's the name of the game, is talent acquisition. So my team leverages me and I leverage my team, right? We leverage each other. That's what this is all about. And so you help us do that greatly. So, and I'm going to explain it the best that I know it. So when we're looking to bring on a team member, a loan partner, a processor, a customer service person, like whatever, and could I run both the mortgage team as a non-producing branch manager and our training team over here at the Mortgage Marketing Animals. And so I log onto your site, I place an ad, which you guys help me develop, which we now share with any loan officer that goes into WizeHire. They say, I'm with the Mortgage Marketing Animals. They get the same templates that you guys helped develop for me, right?
Yep.
I place that ad, I click a button, you guys take that ad and you broadcast it out to all these different platforms uh like uh um like
Indeed, the ZipRecruiters, the LinkedIn's, all of them. Yep, those are our
yeah,
best friends to work with.
massive outreach. And then when somebody replies to that ad, you guys help us with like if I have an applicant, they have to fill out the
This
disc profile,
Yep. Yep.
which gives me like what's their motivations, who would be a red flag. And so basically it's a pre-screen of who we're getting ready to hire. You guys help us do all that. And from my standpoint, like it's all automatic.
That's our job there, Carl, is to do the busy work for you. I'll add one piece there, which is whether you start with our template or you're writing your own ad, along the whole journey, we have our team of hiring coaches. So it's software, but also a team that's dedicated to support you. They're going to review your ads, make sure you're putting your best foot forward on job sites. As candidates come through, if they've got questions, we'll solve them for them. Hey, I've got a problem with the website or whatever. And then along the way, we'll help you find, hey, that candidate that you might be falling behind on. Hey, Carl, have you reached out to XYZ? They're a top person. They're about to leave the market, right? Our job is to, be your accountability coach, but also help you along that journey, much like y'all do with, loan officers building great businesses.
Yeah. And it's a very valuable thing. It really is that we're only as good as our team goes. So let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the market. So we were talking a little bit in the green room before we hit the record button of the trends that we're seeing. And so during our big boom of 2020 and maybe 2021, like 19, 20, and 21, we saw this big boom. And you guys saw a big boom of people. We couldn't hire, literally, we couldn't hire enough processors and loan partners. We had so many loans coming in. My team, like we were doing over 800 loans a month.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't get the help fast enough. And it was a real challenge. And then you saw a drop off of people looking for people, the loan officers, that as their volume dropped down, that they didn't need as much help. What are you seeing? What are you seeing now?
So I'm seeing two trends that are pretty worthwhile. So first off, much like everyone that's gone on this journey, you've heard on this show and seen around the ecosystem consolidation, a lot of shutdowns. We're starting to see things pick back up a little bit. It's getting us very optimistic about the future. We saw customers that are looking to post and hire level off in around January of this past year. And we're starting to see that normal kind of seasonal pattern, but it's continuing. Last month, May, was one of our better months in mortgage in probably 12 months. In the background of all this, Carl, I think we have to also think about, people have had this recognition that talent is, the lifeblood of their business. It's going to help them win at the end of the day. And I was taking a look at this last night. There's a bit of macro data that one of the Fed offices puts out, which talks about just how many people are in the industry. And, we saw a big run up, obviously, through like 19, 20, 21. And, as expected, we've seen the number come down, but it's come down only like 10, 15%, and it's leveled off the last few months. So, maybe we have hit some form of plateau, and now we're seeing a resurgence. There's a lot to figure out here, right? I mean, it's such a tight inventory market. I'm watching home building numbers. I think we're all looking for what is the next thing. I think it's gonna be a different market than it was before for sure. But a lot to look forward to. And I think at the end of the day, the folks that are listening, the folks that y'all work with, these are the best businesses out there. They're growth oriented. They're going to find opportunities because there's always going to be someone that has to move, always someone that has to, nonetheless make this transaction happen. And I think we have to be there for that community at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes I see loan officers make, or really any business, I guess, is they don't understand that, look, if you want to bake a cake, you got to buy flour. If you want to make shoes, you got to buy leather. If you want to have a successful mortgage business, you got to have help. I mean, it's just, it's just the way it is. What would you say to the person? Hey, Sid, Carl, I hear what you're saying. I'll just do it myself, so I keep all the profit myself. What do you say to that person?
I think that's a person who in a few weeks or months may be saying, wow, I've got too many hats that I'm wearing. I'm not spending enough time with my family. I just have to cancel that vacation. At the end of the day, you got in this business for a passion, but building boundaries, building a team is what gets you leverage at the end of the day. It ultimately lets you focus on what is your genius, the one thing you're excellent at, because end to end, doing a mortgage deal is a lot of work. And I'll tell you, some people are excellent at the back office. Some people are excellent at the client facing part. We just have to be conscientious of where we excel and build a team accordingly and get comfortable with that. But giving away that first hat of responsibility is hard. And I think that's just part of the journey of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, so I did the math about 2 weeks ago. And the number I came up with, and I'd be curious if you've ever heard a number like this. I don't know if this is something I came up with, or
yeah, please.
But this might be a very basic business class that they teach at the MBA, which I don't have, right? I figured out that my average employee earns me $310,000. So in other words, for every employee, I make $310,000. So if I'm paying that employee, let's say it's a loan partner, and I'm just going to grab an average number across the nation. Let's say I'm paying them $60,000, just say. So and this is a hypothetical, the 60,000.
Yeah.
If you hire in W-2, 60 is really closer to probably 90 or 85.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got the variable and all that.
Yeah. So I'm paying them, 80, but they're earning the company 310. That's pretty easy math. It's like I'm buying $100 bills for $20. Right.
And look, you're putting forward that capital to get the overhead figured out, to get the system built, and it's all about just getting to that break-even point where you've got enough folks, and you're in a market that can support that business, and that's how I think you get from where we are today to the future, where you can build that enduring franchise for your community.
Yeah, but it took a little bit of for me. It was that classic jumping off the cliff and growing my wings on the way down, because I remember my first person I hired, I don't have time to tell the story, but the first person I hired was minimum wage, 4 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's all I had.
Yeah.
But then when she came in my case, she was answering the phone and answering my emails while I made outbound prospecting phone calls using something that we call the daily success plan. And I'll never forget the first day she came in, from the time she came in till the time she left, I got 2 deals. And let's just say in today's money, that's an average of, and again, this is variant with all loan officers across the nation, but let's just grab a hypothetical number of $3,000 per closing. So I just paid somebody, $50 and made $6,000.
Carl, you've done more than that. You've also, in that moment in time, help someone get into the industry. You likely invested in that person. And I bet if you were to share where that person is today, I mean, that's how you're building this like long-term minded business, right? So.
But at the time I thought, and the lovely Mrs. White, right, said, Carl, we can't, and she was right? Carl, we can't afford it. And I did the math and I said, Maria, if which is my wife, I said, honey, if we can't afford not to do this, that I don't care. Literally, I'll never forget this conversation. It was scary. I said, honey, if we don't do this, this is just, we're just stupid. And I don't care if we have to hawk something. And I was being serious. I don't care if we have to pawn something or credit card advance or whatever, that I know if I have somebody in here helping me and I do more outbound prospecting calls, I'll make more money. And
Carl, I think the story for anyone that's just gotten in the business or has been like even thinking about getting in the business, it's emblematic of that entrepreneur journey, right? It's that you've done the one thing and now you know what you're excellent at and you're betting on yourself, and it requires you to take this leap of faith right here. And I think all of us go through this, and I'm so glad you shared it, but like, my gosh, like think about all the people that now join your community and the insights that you're giving them. You're fast forwarding all these like recipes, right? And that's like the perfect way to keep like paying it forward to the community and making entrepreneurship more accessible, because it's a hard journey, and that's I think how we do this.
And I think having help, I'll never forget, man, this this is really taking me back to the beginning, right? Which is a very enjoyable thing for me to do. It wasn't so enjoyable at the time though, because it was scary, right? Because I didn't know, right? I didn't know how this was going to work out. But I remember walking in the office and for the first time looking at another face that was not my wife or my kids or my family, that was somebody else that had their own wife or husband or puppy dog or mom they're taking care of, or whatever, whatever that happened to be. And actually in her case, it was a husband, right?
Uh-huh.
And so now, she's counting on me to do my part so that she has a job to do her part. And so now I can't, well, I need to go check my email. I need to go check on the Smith file. Like for that 4 hours that she came in, I had none of those excuses. I had to start making outbound phone calls.
Yep.
And prospecting and bringing new business. So I think for me, maybe the biggest part wasn't even actually having the help. It was walking in there and seeing somebody that I'm now responsible for and is counting on me. See, I'll let me down every day of the week, but when it comes time to letting somebody else down, that's a whole different thing, right? And for me, it to this day, it's a huge motivational thing for me. Is I walk in the office, and these days, like you, I've got a pretty good sized team.
Yep.
I walk into this room and see this, small ocean of people, and I go, holy cow, these people are counting on me. I better put my war paint on.
Yeah.
And then they benefit when I put my war paint on. And obviously enough, me and my family, we benefit too. But it's having that accountability of those smiling faces and they got to do their part, right? It's not all on my shoulders. They got to do their part. But I think that's a big part of it, is just feeling the
I mean, it's that journey,
response.
right? Going from solopreneur to entrepreneur to like small established business. It's never all up into the right, as we both know. But it's as every juncture of it, as the journey changes, your job changes. And I think that's one thing we have to all be recognizing, which is every 6 months in a market like this, what we did is going to be different. I mean, that's where, you have to come to teams and programs like yours to get best practices, embed that in your business. Otherwise, you're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, as both of you and I have made.
Yeah. Hey, what do you find? So I find for me, so first of all, employees are not overhead, they're profit centers. They make me more money. So that's the first thing. I think a lot of people say, well, I can't afford it. Well, you can't afford it because you don't have it. Because if you had it, again, in my case, it's $310,000 per employee is what they make. Now part of that 310 is going back to them as their salary.
Yep.
Right.
But their benefits, everything. Yep.
Yeah. But part of that is coming, to Carl. Right. So every time I add an employee, I'm adding using my numbers, another $310,000. And on week one, it doesn't work out that way. But as they continue to do their job, then they free me up. I can do more. I can do more of my job. But anyway, I find about 1 out of 4 employees work out. So that's the dirty side that nobody likes to talk about. That for me personally, about one. Now I set a pretty darn high bar, because my customers expect a high bar from me,
yep.
Right? And we give it to them. And both on the training side and the mortgage side. So about 1 out of 4 make it. Is that typical? Is that less than typical? Like, what do you find?
I think it all depends on the duration that we're thinking about here. So, we're at a point in time right now where the whole work relationship has changed a lot. You think about where we were pre-pandemic to today, people have reflected on, the organization that they're with, and maybe it wasn't the right place. And there's been a lot of job switching as a result. I think we're today in a place where if you're, doing meaningful work in your community and you can thoughtfully communicate that to a candidate, someone that's joining the business, and they're not ensuring that they're not just aligned on, the bottom end of Maslow's pyramid, like compensation, et cetera, but more so, are we on the same mission? Do we agree on the same way to work together? I think if you focus on the culture, the fit, the interpersonal fit with the broader team, that ensures so much more enduring success. Because, I think we've been in a world where, think about where we were just, 15 years ago. And it was, all right, very different labor market. It was a employer first market versus today, where it's still, even in this moment in time, with everything going around us, primarily a job seeker first market, right? It's so hard, depending on the industry that you're in, to fill these roles. Small business owners wake up in the morning and the number one thing they needed was talent. You're always competing with your competition on the street. There's so many people willing to switch jobs. We got to keep earning that relationship. And I think as a result, like, yes, there's attrition, but back to kind of what you said is, if we can get aligned on that high standard up front, you can chart a path, not just from the hire, but also the onboarding and that full employee life cycle. If that's a consistent, journey, living and breathing the values of your company, I think you're set up for success. And, as you're getting started with the business and now where you are today, I suspect that number has changed a lot because you've got way more systems and process. And, one thing I will share is today, job seekers are looking for a lot more transparency about this upfront, almost so they can self-select into the right organization. So,
I don't know. So, and dude, I might be hard-headed, right? I mean, I mean, look, I'm pretty good at some things, and some things I still struggle
you're
with.
trying to build a championship team. You've got standards. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I don't know that my 1 in 4 has increased as much as us identifying much more rapidly who that one is.
Yes.
And so we'll bring a 1 out of 4, and like in the first 2 or 3 weeks, which it used to be 6 or 9 months. And so now it's like very, very rapidly we go, we might have missed I tell you, my gosh, this might sound cold-hearted, but it's just what works. It's like the first time it crosses my mind that this might not be the right fit, it's done. It's like, all right, so what's that old saying? Hire slow, fire fast.
That is definitely a critical way of building, I think, a business at this point in time. That is,
yeah.
You want to be methodical. You want to ensure that there's a great fit, that they know what's walking in the door. But what you owe the rest of your team, especially as you think about the industry that we're in and all the ups and downs of it, back to like that story of you building this business, Carl. You owe every person in the business a resilient company, right? Everyone has to carry their weight on this team that you're building. And, what you're doing, while it is tough, and I think it's one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship, you're ultimately ensuring that the right people are on the bus at the right point in time. And that, I'll give you this, which is, we've now built, 100+ person company, and, we have these conversations from time to time. And, when I talk to our team or some of our customers, by the time you in your position or your management team makes these decisions, the team on the ground that's working with someone already knows. And oftentimes it's, hey, Carl, finally, Carl figured it out. Like, I'm carrying my weight, XYZ wasn't, right? It is, and the final kind of piece to this is like, with this transition to you knowing and your team knowing what great looks like in your business, and freeing someone up to then go find the right place for them, you're actually doing them a great service at this point in time. Because, especially in, we've been living in a up into the right market for so long. And in a market like this, that's kind of unnerving, challenging for others, something that's very foreign to many. The kindest thing you owe someone is a stronger foot in this market sooner, right? Because if it's not going to be with your organization, what do I owe you? Generous severance and an opportunity to like find that next opportunity while the market is still better than it could be maybe 6 months down the road or whatever the case. Again, tough conversations, but these are, I think, how we set up our teams and others for success.
Yeah. So what's, for somebody that's not familiar with the DISC profile, give me like a 30-second or a minute review of what the DISC is, and then how you use it to help your clients get that right fit.
I think it's a great question, Carl. So for those that aren't familiar, the DISC assessment, and at WizeHire, we have a variant of this that focuses both not on just the how someone enjoys to do work, but also the why, the motivators. On the how, this is all about, if you think about on a 2x2, are they far more people-oriented or task-oriented, right? There's a continuum of work, and our goal is to use this information to really help you, the hiring manager, understand this person that could be a prospective employee. Are they best aligned for the type of work that you have? The final question to this is the motivators, right? So, this is all based on, incredibly well-researched, assessments and IO psychology that goes back to like the 1920s and 30s. In the case of the motivators, there are 7 categories of motivation that we can bucket an individual into. It's not one category that you may be in, it's a group of categories. But the way to think about this is, now that I've identified someone that has the right skills from the resume, the right licensing and credentials, someone that is aligned with the way we work in our business, whether it's client-facing, task orientation, the final question is, are they going to be excited when they wake up in the morning for this type of work? Does the compensation framework for this role in my business align with their motivations? And that's how we always like to think about it, where the assessment is to help you quickly understand at a high level how this individual may operate, but to use that insight then when you go into that interview and run a very consistent interviewing process, that you can ask the same question and dig deeper to get that ground truth of, can they be successful with the scorecard for success in my business? So as we put all this together, it really is one of the core legs of the stool, right? We've got the resume that's going to give perspective on their experiences, their licensure, their skills, that's critical for your business. And then ultimately the interpersonal component, and of course the intrinsic motivations that they have for this role. So that's one way to think about it, where we're all complex people. It's not a black and white decision, but the assessments definitely do help us get past the high level conversation of, hey, Carl, how was that baseball game yesterday? And instead dig deeper to say, Carl, my understanding is, based on these assessments, that this is your work style. Can you talk a bit about that with your past experience, and what do you think that's going to apply to with this company? And that leads to way deeper conversations, as an example.
Yeah. I have found the DISC profile. That's a powerful tool, and whoever came up with that, and that it seems
my
to
co-founder
ask,
Jay. I think you may be chatting with him a little bit later.
Oh, it's just incredible. It's it really opens you up to somebody's what makes them as a almost like their soul, like what makes them as a person. And so when you look on there, and to me, it's like, all right, well, what motivates this person? It'll say this motivates this person. And sometimes as salespeople, we think it's always the money that motivates people. And most of the time, it's not the money that motivates people. Loan officers are a very special breed of people. We act like salespeople. And money is a good motivator for us, but we're not typical, right? So typical.
It's so consultative. It's such an ever-changing industry. You want someone that's thinking about this and deeply curious. It's very, very different. That again gets to it's not a black and white decision here at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I think having that as part of it. Look, if somebody doesn't like in my world, we run through your program. Somebody sees the ad, they click on it. They fill out the DISC profile. So before we ever say hello to them, we've got their resume, we've got their DISC profile. And so before we even get on the phone, I've got a good idea whether or not this person is going to be a good match. Frankly, I pretty much make my decision based on the resume and the DISC profile. And then the phone call or the Zoom meeting we do is just to find out, have I inaccurately said yes?
Yep.
When after I get on the Zoom, I'm looking for a reason not to hire them at that point, and not as a reason to hire. I've already made the decision to hire them. And so now I'm looking to eliminate that decision.
And Chris, you've been doing this for so long that, one of the things to note is you've got this intrinsic, systematic way of ruling people out. You've got these, very, very thoughtful questions that I think we've partnered and put in the platform. But this is where, what the two of our organizations are doing for the community are I think incredible, because we can fast forward all these learnings for someone that's maybe just hung up a shingle and is doing this for the first or second time, where it's going back to our stories of entrepreneurship, where it's scary, right? What we're about to do. I'm about to take a chance on someone, bet on them. And, if you're using WizeHire with the Mortgage Marketing Animals resources, you're getting all of these insights fast forwarded to you, the questions that you should ask. How should you think about these scenarios? Because as we get both joke, we've got hard-earned lessons along the way.
Yeah, and I think it for me, it's just making faster decisions, and realizing more rapidly when I've made, when I picked the wrong person, and not that they're a bad person, it's just not a good. I picked a mismatch, a misalignment to rapidly identify that. So, all right. So if you're listening today, if you go to WizeHireFreedom.com, Wize spelled WIZE, WizeHire WizeHireFreedom.com. When they go to WizeHireFreedom.com, Sid, what happens?
Yeah, so you'll get to a WizeHire landing page where we'll actually have details on a special promotion that we've been running now for many years with the mortgage marketing animals community. You get $50 off of our standard plan, which includes the advanced disc insights that Carl was mentioning, and you'll get the support of our hiring coaches for, whenever you're hiring, whether it's for 1 month or for the whole journey.
Yeah, and then the actual ads, and then the interview questions. Your team and my team worked together, and we came up with these
all of those customized resources that are only
like loan partner and processor, or an admin person, because it's different. It's definitely different positions, and different ads to attract them. And your team helped us hone down, like, dude, and this is no exaggeration. So, and again, I'm doing this off the best of my memory, but like we'll run an ad, and it's not uncommon for us to get 50 high quality resumes coming in. High quality resume.
Quality far more critical than the volume. Exactly.
But for sure. And we've done everything from advertising for a COO of different things that I'm doing, down to the person answering the phone. And man, I've had some really high level people respond back to these ads, that you guys helped us do the ad to attract the right people. And then you put them on these platforms to attract attention. And by the way, and I just want to verify this, that once I send the ad, you guys help me put together the ad.
Yep.
I send it to you, you blast it out to all the platforms. And then you guys are the ones that pay for the traffic we don't just put it on Indeed per se. You pay for the advertising on Indeed, on all these different platforms. So I write one check and I'm done.
Yeah, so our platform by default is going to have, syndication on all the sites. And if we need to, boost it further, that's beyond what our service includes, we're going to have that conversation with you. Our coach is going to bring the data and say, hey, your one check for next month should be X. And because at the end of the day, we want to take care of that busy work, Carl, so you can get back to making those outbound calls as an example, and we can just handle your full talent pipeline end to end.
Yeah. I tell you, I found, again, building a team is the single most valuable thing I think any business will ever do.
Yep.
Because with the right team, I can hire anybody to do anything. Obviously legal, ethical, and moral. I can hire anybody to do anything. And that's really where the big money is made. It's in the team building and finding out what's that 1, 2, or 3 things that I do that make me most of my money and spend most of my time doing that. And I found over the years it's changed. In the beginning it was going out and get the next customer. And today it's more involved in going out and get the next team member that gets the next customer.
Yep.
And so it's more like I used to be the conductor, and now I'm the owner of the orchestra. And that's the direction you want to take your business. And it all starts with that first hire. So WizeHireFreedom.com. Sid, anything, I see we're at the top of the hour here. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't today?
Oh, no, Carl, this is always a fun opportunity to get together, talk about the market, talk about the industry. We got to, support the community on this journey that we're going through. It's never all up and to the right. And I think together is how we'll get there. So for anyone that needs help with their next hire, we're always here for you. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was, and man, we're really seeing some really big growth here just recently. Like I saw one of the loan officers that I work with. Her name is Amber Maurer. I hope it's okay to say this. I didn't ask her anything, but I was just checking, and she's got 14 units in her pipeline, right? And that wouldn't happen, without having a team. Like when I first met Amber, she was already amazing, but when I first met her, she was kind of a one-woman band, one man band, one woman band kind of thing, and then she started adding team members, and this might be like just one of her better months ever, and so we're really seeing some major growth by people, and I think, for me, looking for help even before I need that next person is a really smart thing to do. Dude, we're always running ads because you never know who's going to answer that ad. You're like talent search isn't always, we're always prospecting, and we're always looking for talent because you never know who's going to knock on your door.
So I'll give you two things. So, we have to be patiently waiting for greatness, right? When you think about that high standards that you have. And this is why we've aimed to always make our platform insanely affordable, right? It should be almost irresponsible for you not to use WizeHire with everything that we're bringing to the community so that you can always have that ad live. You can always be looking about that next person, that next office, because, it's in a market like this, we have to be opportunistic. We have to be far more nimble in how we navigate. So yeah, I think you're giving all the great advice to the team here.
Yeah. Well, brother, I'm just repeating the things that you guys have taught us over the years. So, Sid, I appreciate you, man. You're a class act. You got a great company. Congratulations. I know you're one of the founders or the COO of it. And you've just done a fantastic job of putting this together. And brother, you've helped a lot of people out.
And
you've helped a lot of our friends
every
out.
morning. Our motivation is to help the community find great talent. That's the number one thing that motivates us, back to how we think about talent, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the real business is. WizeHireFreedom.com, Wise spelled with a Z, WIZE, WizeHireFreedom.com. Hey, thanks for listening. We appreciate this. And Sid and I both appreciate it if you forward this to 3 of your favorite loan officer friends to help inspire them to go do more prospecting and build a team that they can truly build a legacy for you and your family while helping other families out in the process. So it's just, it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for our society to do, and it'll make you good money. So appreciate you, Sid. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks a lot, Carl. Have a good time. Thanks again for the opportunity. Cheers, bud.
All right. So, all right. Thanks a lot. Hey, and we'll see you on the inside at WizeHireFreedom.com. See you on the inside. My name is Carl White. See you over there.